welcome to the Primordial Sound Meditation course. I wanted to put this together for my clients that I work with one-on-one that do the Primordial Sound Mantra meditation that I recommend, and wanted to just capture some of the things that I say individually to each of you. I thought it might be nice to have this captured in one place, so even if I've already told you about this, you can refer back to it, come back in, learn a little bit more information, and understand what your resources are here. For most people, this is a brand new way of even thinking about meditation. And I know as clients of mine, you've already done the work, you've read in the book that there are literally hundreds of types of meditation. So I want to remind you why we do primordial sound meditation in the work that I do. And today's message and video is really, what is it? So it's going to be in 4 parts here. So this is our first video that normally if I were teaching this in a class, I would teach it in a 4-week series. So consider this to be your week 1 video. So what is primordial sound meditation? First and foremost, you have a downloadable handout here on this online course section, so please feel free to download that. I've got a copy of it here. I'm going to share some of the information and resources, but please, by all means, if you're someone that would rather read or you want to have it with you in hard copy, print that, download it, save it, put it on your Kindle device, whatever you want to do with it, but there's a lot of additional information in that handout. So back to what is primordial sound meditation? Well, first and foremost, the easiest way to describe what a primordial sound is it's not man-made. So if we're out in nature and we hear the birds singing, we hear the babbling brook, the breeze blowing by, whatever sounds nature makes is what we would consider a primordial sound. Now, if it's man-made, the sound of a jackhammer, a car horn, a doorbell, those are all man-made sounds. So really, the reason that I want to share with you the difference is because when we get in the energy, the vibrational frequency of a primordial sound, our body knows that to be the intelligence of all existence that's in me, that's in you, that's in all of us. And it awakens a vibration, an energy field that is in all of us. So we want to really cultivate primordial sound so we can come back to the truth of that divine, that intelligence of all existence that's in every single one of our cells in all of our bodies. And that has healing power that you're going to learn about in a little bit. So a primordial sound is a sound, again, that is not man-made. Easy. I can teach this to 5-year-olds. I could play different sounds. A pig oinking, that is actually a sound made by nature. That is not a man-made sound. All of those quizzes that I give little kids, it's just pretty easy to ask yourself, am I in a place of primordial sound or not? It's why when we go out into nature, we feel so much better because we're in the energy, the vibrational frequency of the existence and the intelligence of all existence. And we know that. Our inner being says, oh, this is home. I know this. When you're sitting on the beach, hiking in the mountains, sitting by a babbling brook at a campsite, whatever it is, if you're in a sound that's primordial, you will have a much better experience. It also can lessen your nervous system, your stress response. That's why everyone that says they go away for the weekend and do something out in the wilderness or out in nature, they come back, they feel refreshed. So what I want to help you learn to do is to cultivate that primordial sound on a daily basis. Don't wait till Friday. Don't wait till your summer vacation. I want to help you cultivate that on a regular basis. So in the handout, it talks a little bit about the history of it. And one of the things I just want to give you a highlight, primordial sound meditation actually comes from the Vedantics, which is an ancient, in the Middle East, in the Hindu tradition in India. So the Vedantics, thousands and thousands of years ago, were spiritual teachers. And they used primordial sound to heal. And we're talking, 3,500 years ago. And what's so interesting and cool about primordial sound meditation is they knew astrologically at the exact moment that you were born, where the stars and the heavens were lined up. And in their language, they were able to assign a sound to each person at the exact moment of birth. When they had that sound resonated with all the cells in their human body because their body knew, their spirit knew that this was the moment that the invisible was made visible into the human form in the world. And that frequency, if you will, if I were to put it into modern day terms, is every one of us makes a unique vibrational sound. All of my subatomic particles, the electrons, the atoms, all the things swirling around that come together to make my body, if we could hear it with the audible sound of our ear, my frequency has a unique song. So does yours, so does everyone else in the world. We just don't hear it with our naked ear. So what's really amazing about this is when you have your primordial sound given to you, it matches what that frequency of that song would be if you could hear it with the ear. And I think that's some really cool stuff. We could go down some rabbit holes on this one, but I just need you to trust me on this. So when we talk about your primordial sound, I do ask for your exact time of birth, the date, the location, city, country, so we can get the longitude and latitude down. And I plug that into a software system. And that software system, based on the ancient Vedantic astrology, pulls up at the exact time and place and location of when you were born. This is what the stars astrologically looked like in the sky. And in their ancient Vedantic wisdom, they were able to convert that into a sound, which would be a word in Sanskrit. And so there's 3 words in a primordial sound meditation. We're going to talk about that today just to remind you when you're getting your personal mantra. This is really sacred stuff. This isn't stuff you go running around telling people, I got my mantra today. This is my sound. In the ancient traditions, it was a religious ceremony to receive your primordial sound. And you used it as a daily practice to connect back to the divine, the existence, the intelligence of all of existence that was inside of you. So it's a very ancient, very old technique, and it talks about that in the handout here. And in the Chopra Center, which is where I went and studied to become a certified primordial sound meditation teacher, I had my first introduction. You can hear about it some on my podcast and read in my book. But the short and long of it, I went out there for a 4-day retreat and actually studied with Deepak Chopra, was there to get my own primordial sound mantra and did. And when they gave it to me, it was such a beautiful ceremony. And I was told you can speak this once in the private room with me, the instructor that was giving it to me. And it was printed on a card, but I was told you have to go home and keep this in a sacred place. You don't put it as a magnet on your fridge, and you certainly don't go around sharing it. And so I've never shared mine with anyone. It's not meant to be shared, given away, distributed, or talked about frivolously. In the ancient Vedantic wisdom tradition, they truly believed that this was sacred stuff. And so I want you to teach and train yourself to really see this as sacred time with the essence, the vibration, the song of your own soul, because that's really what this mantra is. So before we get into a little bit more around the mantra piece, I just want to talk about, there are lots of ways to meditate. And I get asked this sometimes, do I substitute whatever I did before and now use just this? I'm definitely a both and girl, so I don't believe in you only meditate one way. There's a lot of different ways to meditate. I want you to trust your own wisdom. I practice, loving kindness and lots of other ancient techniques that are out there as I need them. However, the primordial sound one for me is the one that I really go to as my core practice. And I want to tell you why that is, because with primordial sound mantras, what happens is you start to move through different levels of consciousness. And we're going to talk about those in video number 2 in more detail. But as you get into the vibration of the different levels of consciousness and start to move through them on a regular basis, what happens is you drop into a deeper sense of self while you're also ascending further up into a unity level of consciousness. And that's very different than a lot of the heart-centered practices around mindfulness meditation. And so, yes, you probably know this, but as a reminder, I also am certified as a mindfulness meditation teacher with Jack Kornfield and Tara Brach. Love their program, love their resources. That one comes from an ancient Buddhist track. So if you can imagine, the Hindu track was all about reaching enlightenment through the levels of consciousness. So we were working on elevating our way up through sound into different experiences of consciousness, while mindfulness meditation actually invites you to go deeper down into the sense of self and into your heart and into the body and really get into some really great skills as well. So you do need both of these. However, I really want you to know that when you're talking about primordial sound meditation, we're actually talking about ascending through different levels of consciousness. And that's what we're working on in our work together. Conscious leadership, being a conscious creator. Consciousness just means waking up, staying awake, being awake, aware, and available. That's the whole formula for success that I teach you all. If you want to be a conscious leader, C equals A to the third power. So to be conscious, you have to be awake, aware, and available. And so the power of a primordial sound mantra meditation in a daily practice for you, it's going to bring you into different levels of consciousness, and then it's going to expand and give you space to make different choices, which helps you to rewind, rewrite, and rewire new stories and new belief systems in your being. That's the critical piece of this. So I want you to know why you're doing it. How is it different? How is it the same? You can certainly still practice lots of other types of meditations and mindfulness practices. But this one, in my opinion, is the one that really gets into the magic of helping you to rewrite and to show up with new belief systems that are at a higher level of consciousness. So that's a really important piece about this. So if you're wondering, why am I doing this? Why can't I do some of the other practices out there? Feel free to do the other ones. But I want you to know the difference is we're really getting into the essence, the vibration, the song of your own soul. And when your inner being hears and feels that, it knows that as truth. And when you connect with that, it's a total game changer. So you're not forcing kindness, you're not forcing compassion, you're not doing a body scan. There's nothing that you're doing in primordial sound meditation. You're being in a vibration. And when you're in that vibration, the vibration is all the work that needs to happen. So it is a really cool thing. I wanted to just give you a brief little overview of what it is. So don't forget, download the handout and you can read more about that. But in this next video, I'm going to actually break down the mantra and talk to you a little bit more about the higher levels of consciousness. And I'll see you on that video, and you can watch these. You don't have to wait for week 2 if you don't want. We're going to put them in weeks, but certainly read the materials. And if you want to watch them in consecutive order, feel free to. But I'm going to go into another video where we actually talk about the mantra, the 3 words, and the higher states of consciousness. So I'll see you on the next video.